Ecom Insiders podcast. My name is Debbie, and this event is sponsored by SPCTEK. Today's topic is why click-through rate, or CTR, is the most important KPI to grow sales on Amazon. Our guest today is Stephen Pope. Stephen is the founder of My Amazon Guy, an agency with $20 million in annual revenue and 400 plus active brands. Stephen is the best-selling author with his book Amazon Selling Tips. Stephen started his career as a TV reporter in Idaho and then became an e-commerce director for 10 years for brands that ranged from gold and silver coins to women's plus-size clothing. Please welcome Stephen to the show today.
Hello, hello. Hi, Debbie.
I'm so excited. I mean, I'm going to be talking to my Amazon guy.
You betcha. I'm excited to talk to you too. I
Oh,
haven't been to
wow.
a meeting in a long time. They've made this better. It looks a lot better.
Oh, good, 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 good. I'm so excited. So, to get started, can you just give our viewers a brief overview of what click-through rate means in context of Amazon listings?
Yep. Everything you need to do to get sales in e-commerce comes down to two metrics. The first is traffic, and the second is conversion. And one of the most important ways you grow traffic in e-commerce, whether it's Amazon, your Shopify site, or anywhere in between, is to improve the click-through rate. If somebody is on Amazon, so if I go over to Amazon right now and I want you to pick the search term so it'll feel raw, like we didn't plan this ahead of time. So Debbie, tell me an item
Oh,
I
okay.
should look for on Amazon right now.
Let's look for makeup sponge.
Makeup sponge. All right. So I've never searched this term before in my life. And
I'll bet
makeup
you haven't.
sponge, you got me there. And so what a consumer will see when they load, I have a couple of Chrome extensions, so you'll see like some like ranking stuff. So just ignore that. Wonder if I could toggle that off actually. But the ads will show up at the top here, and as we scroll down, what do we see? But a bunch of pink, a little bit of orange, a lot of colors. So as a consumer, most of the consumers, about 70% of them, are going to click on one of these four products right here. And one of them is just showing the product and it's cropped really tight. A second, and it's got a $20 price mark. The second one here is showing a group of them and like a glass that you would put them in. So they're trying to like show like how you would display it in your bathroom. This third one is showing the packaging, and the fourth one is showing the packaging. So as a consumer, I want you to pick, Debbie, which one of these would you click?
Well, I'll be honest, I would probably pick the orange one, but only because
Let's
I have
pick.
orange in my bathroom.
Okay, so that is an interesting soundbite. Okay. Color made the decision here. Now, if we scroll before we go to the orange listing, and we're going to do that, and we scroll down, there's a clear limit of orange. Most of these are focused on pink
Pink.
and other alternatives. Very few orange listings. So if we were trying to go to market with a makeup sponge today, chances are, if we polled the audience and we found the customer avatar like Debbie, she's going to say she likes orange. And she may even say that before we even saw the search page results. So we might have an advantage by knowing that orange will stand out and get the click. And that's exactly what happened here today. Now, if we go over to the listing, there's some nice things about this main image. They show the packaging and they show the item outside of the packaging. They show the for quantity. And it looks like Real Techniques is the brand name, so they put that there. If we go back to the search page briefly, you can't really make out any of the text though. So when we
Mhm.
talk about click-through, 0% latex, that's super easy to read. Blending sponge, super easy to read. So the item that's just to the left of the orange one probably would have a higher click-through rate versus the other pink ones.
Mm.
However, orange won out because it stood out. So even if you don't have a keyword on the main image, color can be the entire deciding factor. But I like to point out how important text is on a main image today. Now, they make it subtle. They make it look like it's on the actual packaging. Let's go click on their listing. I bet you it's not actually on their packaging and they just photoshopped it. and
Ah,
all of their all of their other secondary images don't show the packaging, so we won't able actually know that for certainty. If we click a video here, they're probably not going to show the packaging either. They don't. So we won't know for sure if it's on the packaging or not, but I bet you it's not. So an Amazon seller or an e-commerce brand, oh, I really like their A plus content. Look at this. The
yeah.
softness, bounciness. I've never seen a listing do anything like this before, comparing and contrasting products. That is honestly one of the strongest product comparisons I've ever seen in A plus content. This is the section called A plus content. They do a really good job. That's
Well,
incredible. So I really
you
like that
have
they've
to
got.
you have to really stand out in this particular product because there's millions of them out
It's a
there.
it's a commodity, right?
Yeah,
So even though they have amazing designs, they lost Debbie's click because she likes orange, right? So
yeah.
there's some combinations of psychology and theory and limitations that we're going to talk about, and we'll break a lot of this down today. But I think that the orange listing is significantly boringer, right? Like their
Mhm.
infographics not as great, but that won't matter to Debbie, right? She's going to
Right.
buy it because it's orange, right? And the point I'm making here is click through rate dictated the sale, conversion did not. You were picking this based off the click to begin with. Now, if you had narrowed it down to two orange listings and we were going into the detail between two orange listings, at that point, then we might be looking at like, okay, which one's the higher quality, which one's got the better design, who's got the customer avatar that I like better, who do I resonate with, and then price, right? And there can be some cursory effect on price. This guy's got 56,000 reviews. That probably will have an influence. If we scroll back over to the pink one, they also have pretty good reviews at 5,000. There's really not a big conversion difference or click through rate difference between 5,000 reviews and 50,000 reviews. So
Okay.
so that's like the surface level, and I'll let you interject there because I'm sure you have some questions. But other things we can talk about is the importance of the keyword and the impression data and some other cursory impacts if you like.
So there's a couple of other things about this particular one that I like too. The shape that it has a flat edge and it's not all cone is another thing that the shape of this one, in addition to the color, if you look at the pink one, you'll see it's more egg type and it doesn't have that
Yep.
flat. Okay. So that's the other thing I
Contour.
do. Yes, the contour of the sponge. But I do like what you showed out on the packaging there, how that 0% latex just really stands out.
It does.
Usually, the other thing I would be looking for in a makeup brush and a makeup sponge might be organic,
So
would
if we
be
do
one of the.
Control F organic, there's not a single reference to organic in the entry level of the title anywhere on search right now. So if
That's
we change,
crazy.
yeah, if we change makeup sponge organic like this, we may see that change. So now we're getting a couple of reference points. So I'll hit enter here. Let's see if it'll rotate me down to the. Here we go. So here's the first one that says organic on it. But by and large, the market is not embracing that in the title. That doesn't mean some of these aren't organic,
Right.
but that could be compelling or interesting to think about. If we
Yeah.
look at so if I pull up some data, so this is a tool that can show us like search volume. So there's not a high search volume for organic, which is why nobody's putting it in their title. Um,
Okay.
and so there's $2.6 million a month that comes up in the top 50 items with that search term though. So there's relevant results. So I'm going to change that to makeup sponge. I want to look at the search results again just to see like with that change. It's pretty much the same, about 2.5 million on makeup sponge and whatnot. But some of the things we can do. So I'll go back to the orange one, and I'm going to click on this little keyword button. We can track price over time, by the way. So if a consumer wants to know, like, hey, is this the right time to buy this item? Well, they change their prices all the time, like every couple months. You can see prices changing everywhere. There's a free tool called Camel, Camel, Camel for those that are curious. This tool on screen here is called Helium 10. It's a paid one. And so if we look here, we can see their keywords. And if I was going to try and improve the click-through rate of the orange sponge, the first thing that I would do is pick a keyword. So if we look at the keyword data, there's a word cloud, and we can see 5 million people are searching for related keywords right here. And makeup, sponge, beauty, those are the cursory like frequency of the word showing up.
Yeah.
So chances are makeup sponge is probably the best phrase to put on there. And we could narrow it down. We could look at some of the data, but that's very apparent to me. If they're indexing for 4,700 keywords, makeup
Yeah.
sponge is in half of those, roughly. So that's
Yeah.
what I would do. I would come in here instead of focusing on the brand, because I'll pop quiz Debbie here. Debbie, what was the last item you bought on Amazon?
I bought a pool pump.
What was the name of the brand?
No idea.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Their brands are over indexing the name of their brands. And by the way, nobody ever knows the answer to that question. So that's kind of the point of the question, right? So like they say Real Techniques right here, and that's clearly their brand name, but nobody cares, right? It's a commodity item. So what they should do instead is like move the brand name Real Techniques to the corner, make it as small as natural dewy finish, and instead blow up a keyword right there called makeup sponge. And their click through rate on half of those keywords would go up 5 to 10 percentage points. And that
Wow.
5 to 10 percentage points could double their sales. Double. So
Mm,
that's why I think CTR or click through rate is the most important metric, because it's the easiest to improve, right? So
right.
on Amazon, uh, typical average conversion rate is 10%. So if I said, hey, I want to grow sales, you only have two choices. I either improve my traffic or improve my conversion rate, right? So that's like baseline. So if I want to go from 10% conversion to 20% conversion, that would be ridiculously hard to double my sales.
Right.
But let's say they get 10,000 visits a month. It would be 10 times easier to double them to 20,000 a month than it would
And
be
that's
to double
all
the conversion.
organic. I mean, that's all organic, right?
But potentially you could go buy clicks too, to be clear. But but when we improve the CTR for organic, that's free, right? That's
Yeah.
earned media. Just changing the main image, right? You and I today are giving free advice to Real Techniques. We'll send them the video and they'll be like, oh, that makes perfect sense. Let me go change this. And then they'll send us a check in the mail 2 months later because we doubled their sales. Because this stuff seriously works that fast. But
I
but
love it.
the other thing too is when you improve the click-through rate, the advertising costs also go down because Amazon rewards a higher click-through rate on a cost per click basis for PPC
Oh,
ads. So there's cursory benefits. So you improve CTR, your traffic goes up, your conversion goes up, your costs go down. And everybody's like, what? Whoa, like, how is that possible? It all starts with the main image.
wow. Well, talking about some of the actionable strategies that people can use, can a high quality product image showcase the product well enough to contribute to the CTR?
Yes. So if we try to go find some bad examples, so if we go back to the makeup sponge setup, right, and we've already established there's $2.5 million in revenue a month minimum. That's just on the top 50 products. So there's probably a couple more million with the other thousands of products. But if we tried to find like a bad image or an example of one, so like here's an example between the beauty blender and the green tea beauty sponge. The
Yeah.
green tea just showcasing a little bit of the green tea leaves is subtle enough that it attracts the eye, right? So when you
Mm,
talk about high quality image, there's a lot of ways we could interpret that question. But one way would be the pixels. Like, is it high resolution? Is it cropped well? And most of these are going to be cropped well and pretty decent looking.
yeah.
But most of them miss out on showing the packaging. This one has it. They miss out on showing some sort of like ingredient. Tea leaves got it, but the rest don't. May not be as relevant to the other ones. And they frequently, and almost none of them have a keyword, right? If we scroll down through, so 2 out of 8 so far, 3 out of 12, and 4 out of about 20. So basically, we're looking at 20% of listings on the search term have a strong, compelling keyword that's not the brand name showing up. Right. So makeup sponge, did we not pick out that exact keyword on the
Yeah,
search terms?
absolutely. Yeah,
They got it.
absolutely.
Now,
Yeah.
in their instance, it's not big enough. It's not, it's kind of readable, but they could have made it even bigger. Right. So just to, I'll show one example of how this could be done. So, orange dog cleaner, since we had dogs interrupt us earlier, right? Here's a good
Okay. Yeah.
example.
I
Look how
actually have some
large.
orange. I love it.
Yeah. How big is their keyword? It is gigantic, super easy to read. Odor eliminator, stain remover, right? Where's their brand name? Smaller orange, angry orange up there. I don't even know that it's called angry orange. I just knew orange dog cleaner, right? That's what I typed in. I don't care what their brand name is. I just know it's orange, right?
Yeah.
And and if we, as we've established here, Debbie likes orange, so she also buys orange stain remover for her dog.
Yes. Favorite color. You'll notice I even have a little bit of orange on today.
You do, and it's in the brand
Yeah.
name in the background on the top left
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
We've
Exactly.
really nailed Debbie's purchasing behaviors here today. All about the
Yeah.
orange.
But now a color psychology to the main image does play a part in CTR for your Amazon product listings, right?
It absolutely does. I'm going to show you a little color theory.
Okay.
So we have studied that the click-through rate goes up when you get the text to be readable. And very large text, we've established that. Now I'm going to add in the color impact to that since you brought color up again. And so if we look at this, if you see an X on the screen, it's harder to read than
Mm.
the check marks. And that's because you shouldn't use those color combinations. So the worst color combination that I see most brands make mistake with is combining blue and red together. So you'll notice there's an X on both the blue and red. It is simply harder to read. It strains the eye and you can't read it. So if you're looking for the safest color, it's always black, black and white. That's why you see all sorts of brands with heavy amounts of black and white, right? You see more check marks on the black and whites. And as you go through this, you'll see red and blues do not get along. Any variation of a blue going into the violets, you can see, there's still X's there. But black, check, 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 almost all the way down until we get to the blue and purples. So we're on the orange theme today. So we look at orange, red and orange. Don't do that. Yellow is okay on orange, but not all oranges, as we'll see there. Green, don't want green on orange. Blue, so orange is a little harder, right? We see a lot of X's showing up on orange. Black, white, and yellow are basically our only options for text on an orange background. So if we go back over here, what color did they use? White.
White.
That one's easy to read, safe to use. If we go back over to our orange one, they've got black. Uh, I wouldn't say this one was great, and also they didn't use a keyword; they used a brand name, but technically still follows our color
Yeah.
guide today.
Yeah. So, what are the common mistakes that sellers will make with their product images that just negatively impact their CTR?
So using the wrong
Okay.
color in text, like we've established here with this color guide, by not showing the packaging, by not showing a keyword, and overemphasizing the brand name, like Real Techniques does right here. Um, Other like noob mistakes, if you will, like people that really don't know what they're doing, they'll have a blurry main image. It's hard to find bad examples of blurry main images, but if we went over to Google search right now, we probably have a better shot at this. So I'll do makeup sponge on Google search
Hmm.
and I'll hit images. And in here, if we tried to find, there's an Etsy image, it's still kind of pretty high quality, but like some of these would be more likely to have a lower pixel count or a blurry issue or something like that, or maybe it's not shot on white. So that's another challenge that we sometimes will see.
Yeah, I
um,
was going to ask about the background color. Do you recommend putting a background color in front of the product?
it needs to be on white for Amazon's policies. Now,
Okay.
there are certain categories, like if we typed in furniture, so give me a furniture item.
Let's say coffee table.
Coffee table it is. And so if we look down through here, you'll notice that a lot of them show lifestyle images, like this one
Hmm.
does and this one does. Um, they allow lifestyle on certain categories, but by and large, almost every category requires it on white. And they're a little picky in apparel, so you'll see less antics, if you will, in apparel than you will see in some other categories. But by and large, they want to see it on white. The main reason why you see conflicting rules based on the category is because Amazon has competitors. And some of their competitors, like House or Wayfair in the furniture category, are almost exclusively embracing lifestyle because they want
Okay.
that Pinterest experience.
Yes.
So so when
Yes.
Amazon has a competitor, it's a good thing for the consumer typically. Now, Amazon is a monopoly. I want to establish that. They're
Oh,
half the
absolutely.
economy. They own 88% seemingly of Amazon households are a Prime member, which is a crazy stat, just insane. And so they own vertical control, just like the railroad industry, just like the car industry and oil and everything else. We've seen it time and time again. One big company comes in and eats it all up. That's what Amazon has done with logistics. They own all of the warehousing, hundreds and hundreds of warehouses across the country. They own the freight. They own, logistics from China over to the States. So they're a vertically controlled company. Now, there's some benefits to the consumer with monopolies, but there's also some disadvantages, right?
Yeah.
So the advantage is you get 2 day shipping, you get next day shipping, you get Prime Now, right? That's the benefit of a monopoly. The
Yeah.
downside is that like they're not a competitive marketplace, so the sellers are left by the wayside, and China is now eating our socks on
Yeah.
Amazon because they have their government subsidizing them and they can show up. And so the reason I bring that up is because to win on click through rate, you also have to win on price. And the Chinese are lowering their prices, which Amazon likes, but they aren't as good at marketing. And so the American companies listening to this conversation, they have to embrace high levels of marketing to win their customer, because if you win on price today, you'll lose on price tomorrow. So they
Yeah.
have to win on marketing and branding.
Well, and I think one of the important things from just this lesson that you just gave us is know the category you're selling in. Do your research if you're going to improve your click through rate. I mean, know that I can't put anything but a white background on a makeup sponge. So maybe what I have to do is put it on the packaging, what I want them to see, versus here where I could do a lifestyle photo. I mean, now I look at this knowing that it's okay in furniture and go, why would anybody put it on a white background?
It's, it makes you think, right?
Yeah.
And nobody's got orange on their image, so you're not going to be happy. Well, okay, we got a little, well, it's kind of copperish. So they got to try better.
When it comes to furniture, it would be mid-modern century. There we go.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
great.
Okay. So now we've talked quite a bit about the images and what they can do, which is amazing to me that you can do that much with your image to influence your click-through rate. Talk about how we can improve the listing titles to increase attention and engagement.
So titles have a significantly smaller influence, and you'll notice that most of the titles we're only seeing 8 words or
Yeah.
so, give or take. And so the most important thing here, and Amazon is A/B testing right now, like whether they put the brand name in the title.
Mm.
So some of you who try and replicate some of the conversation we had today will notice that like Best Choice or Hayu, which is probably a Chinese company, or Sego, or probably another Chinese company, are putting their brand names. The brand names will show up underneath, and that's actually, I think, the future. I think Amazon will do that. So sidestepping brand name, which is important on click through, because if you choose a terrible Chinese brand name, I'm not going to click on it personally, right? But others might. Anyway, long story short, lift top coffee table, hidden storage coffee table, right? Like that, it's keyword stuffed, but it doesn't necessarily like invite me to click on it.
Right.
Mid-century modern style cocktail table, all right, that has some influence. Now, having said that, did your eye go to the image first or did it go to the title?
Image, absolutely.
And that's because images are for people and copy is for robots, which is why you'll see terribly written titles like this one. I'm just going to read this one out loud. Best choice products: lift top coffee table, hidden storage coffee table, wooden dining coffee table, accent table furniture for living room, display shelves, gray oak. Right? Clearly keyword stuffed galore. And we got Debbie smiling
And
here, and that's because it's terrible.
really somebody
But
who doesn't even understand keywords, because you only have to have coffee table in there once. Putting in
yes,
there
yes
multiple
and no.
times doesn't really.
Yes and no. So the Amazon algorithm does state it only needs to be once. That is the established public statement from Amazon. However, what we have seen in many instances is that getting an exact match will have an impact on that particular keyword. So in this instance, if we look at their keywords, they're probably going for lift top coffee table. They're probably going for hidden storage coffee table, and they're probably going for wooden dining coffee table. And so the data does reveal to us that having those exact matches in the title will explicitly influence that. Let me see if I can prove that minorly by
Okay.
taking that exact keyword and I'm going to type it in here. And if their product shows up, which it does in slot number one, that proves the case.
Okay.
And so having the exact match allowed them to rank better for it.
So that's yes. So it is something that the title, I mean, it might not catch our eye, but they obviously knew what they were doing with the title to get it to pull up in more
They
searches.
did. They did.
Okay.
And so technically speaking, your title influences CTR indirectly as much as it does directly. Indirectly because it ranks the product to be seen
Right.
before the click. Now, the other thing too is if you were searching that exact keyword and it also showed in the title, like it did in this particular instance, would that more likely invite you to click on it if you saw the title with the keyword that you searched? And typically that's a yes. Sometimes if you run a search like this, you'll also see Amazon bold the keyword. That didn't happen in this particular instance, but you'll frequently see Amazon running A/B tests on influencing factors, and they might have bolded a keyword so that way when you have the exact match in the title and they bold the keyword, when you search it, what are you going to do? You're going to click on it because it's bolded.
Yeah. Now, one of the other things I'm curious about is to what extent seeing the positive reviews influence shoppers to click on the product.
Jungle Scout did a really good data gathering exercise on this very question. A single review will double the conversion rate. 20 reviews will improve the conversion rate another like 25% or something like that. There's a big drop off between there and the next tiers. At around 100 reviews, you'll see another bump, maybe another 10% bump. And then at 1,000 reviews, maybe you'll see another like 5% bump. After that is sub 1%. So a lot of people think I got to get reviews to get sales. And I honestly, I don't think so. You need one review to get sales, but you don't need 20 to get a sale. And I have personally launched a lot of products on Amazon, hundreds and hundreds with my own dollars. I have personally spent more than $250,000 of my own money advertising on my own brand, Age of Sage. This particular item right here is a mom box, the sort of thing I would hope a daughter of Debbie's would buy, Debbie,
Yeah.
for Mother's Day, and and this is a great item. It's got a mom tumbler. It's got some soaps, artisan soaps. It's got a little bath bomb, and it's got some lotion. By the way, we bought all of this stuff in bulk. We had lotion machines like squirting lotion and dumping it into bottles, and um, lots of fun building this out and picking the card and running A/B tests and throwing a raspberry on the main image. So this, if you look at the history on this item, so I'm going to prove to you that the basics that we talked about today have a really big impact. This blue line, which is kind of hard to follow, indicates if it's down here in the low numbers, that's the sales rank. That means sales were really good. So this item launched basically last couple days in April, and by the second week in May was a top 800 item in all of beauty on Amazon.
Wow.
And I sold $144,000 in 30 days with this box, and I spent $11,000 on ads, and I got it to organic rank number one for gifts for mom. Now it's a seasonal item; it only does good during Christmas and Mother's
Yeah.
Day, and but the point is, I got the main image right, like this, and the main image is what made the sales go up. It's what made the
Yes.
click through rate go up. It's what generated all the sales. And fun fact, although this isn't orange, I was the only pink cup with the word mom on it at the time. And I purposely went with pink because nobody else had it, which is back to the tie in for color. If you
Color.
go to market with the color that may be fringe, that maybe is not hot, but nobody else has it, you can capture the full market for that color.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, how would a seller leverage maybe discounts and promotional pricing to improve a rate? Does that really make any difference?
It does. Smaller than people think, though. But if we go
Okay.
over to, let's do like lightning cable phone charger, right? And the
Yeah,
reason
everyone
I
has
like
one.
to go to tech products for this particular question is because what we'll see is that almost half the products will have a coupon or a promotion. Limited time deal, 30% off. And as we scroll down here, limited time deal, 30% off. And we'll just see lots and lots, 15%, save $2, and then coupon after coupon, save 20%, another limited time deal. And and also you can see these Chinese flags, Chinese, 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 Chinese. Like it's just chock full of Chinese sellers everywhere. Every single product we see on screen is made by a Chinese seller, with the exception of this one British item. That's it.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see a lot of couponing or promotions are typically run by the Chinese. So Chinese
Mm.
based categories are price sensitive because Amazon drives a marketplace with the lowest price. The Chinese are really good at penny pinching and
Yeah.
bringing down cost. So that's why we see lots of promotions in this category. Now, if we went back over to a furniture, so let's do like I don't know, let's do pillows. Right? In this category, I would be surprised, and here I am being surprised. A lot of coupons are also in pillows. Was not expecting that. But I would say that certain categories are less prone to see coupons than other ones.
Mm.
Um, Things that are more lifestyle oriented or quality based are less likely to see couponing. But if you see a limited time deal, that is going to absolutely help with sales. So let's click on this random item here and let's see like how much their sales spiked. So this item sells 20,000 units a month.
Wow.
20,000. That's insane. And if we look at their last 90 days in sales, so they were in the sales rank top 300. And with the deal, which started on the 17th of June, today's the 21st, we can see that it made a difference to them getting into the top
Wow.
100 home goods item. So how much does running a deal matter? Well, in this instance, that probably doubled their sales,
Yeah.
and that's now a 20,000 unit a month item.
And this goes back to again knowing doing your research and knowing. For instance, you were talking about the package that you put together with the mom's cup on it. I mean, how long did it take you to determine everything that you wanted to put in that and the research that went into a product? I think sometimes there's not enough research into the products that people are selling.
There are so many data tools that allow good research in 2024 when selling on Amazon that I'm starting to see that trend flip the other direction where
Oh,
data
good.
paralysis is occurring. And so, what I actually recommend to new sellers today is, instead of starting with data, to instead start with what they know. If Debbie went out and launched a new line of orange makeup sponges, I would believe Debbie would have a better shot at making that brand sell than I would, even
Yeah.
though I'm the Amazon expert. And the
Yeah.
reason for that is because Debbie has used thousands of makeup sponges and I have used it, back in my TV reporter days, but I don't know a thing about them, right? So I
Right,
went to
right.
Walmart and picked up some sponges and called it a day. Debbie would know the difference between an egg contour versus a flat contour. I would have
Yeah.
no idea. So the principle I'm expressing here is to stick to what you know, stick to
Mhm.
what you understand. And
So
if you do,
I will often tell clients when they're starting their sourcing and stuff like that, wake up in the morning and start paying attention to the things that you touch and the things that you do, because everybody does certain routines and stuff. And pay attention, how many of them do you care what the brand is? Most things we
nobody,
use, we don't know the brand. Everybody thinks brand is king, but
it's
that's
not.
not necessarily the truth at all. How do
Amazon
you
was the
do
brand killer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How do you do A/B testing with different titles and images and stuff to optimize CTR?
There's a bunch of tools you can use. Probably my preferred tool is PickFu, and I'm gonna log in and just like show you some of our tests so you guys can see. I could even run an A/B test right now if you were really curious. But essentially, if we look at past polls that we've done, we can find out like what somebody's gonna like better or worse. So this is a product on the left. This is a client that we work with, and a product on the right, which was the competitor. And we just
Mm.
simply wanted to know like who would win. And this particular one, indeterminate, right? Like it's 50-50 essentially. And so we didn't learn anything from this particular test. But what we could do is take this image and do some photoshopping, do some composites to see if we can make it beat the original and run some tests. So what you do is you take like an A and a B version. So here's an example of an A and B version where the only thing we change is simply adding featured on Ink Master. And featured on Ink Master was a subtle addition, but made it win 73% of the time. So
Wow.
something as subtle as like featured on Ink Master, or a starburst or an emoji or a color addition could really have a big impact on CTR. Now, we technically don't know how much of an impact on CTR before we load the image to Amazon, because Amazon does give us some search query performance report data and analytics. But you would need to basically you could figure out like what's going to do better. We even run A/B tests for my thumbnails. I went viral on Reddit the other day, and they put I was on the top. I was at the top of LinkedIn lunatics because I kind of am a LinkedIn lunatic, and we wanted to know like for my YouTube like reaction video what thumbnail would do better, and it was pretty evenly split 50-50, but I personally thought this one was better, so I ran with that
I
one.
like that one better. It's more orange showing.
There you go. Speaking of more orange, here's an example of how having a mosquito on the main image, massive difference. 92% of people prefer the left product, and obviously the accessory is probably not a true A/B test, but the mosquito is gigantic on the packaging, and you can see the mosquito. So what we're doing right now is we're redoing Mosquito Magician's main image and making the mosquito giant on it to influence an improvement in sales.
And again, when you make this change, it's just to the image. You're not telling them go back and reprint all of your labels and stuff like that.
Correct. Now, this is where I start to get a little bit of heat from the commenters, and that's because they're like, "Well, that's against Amazon terms and conditions." It's really not, first of all, and second of all, even if it was, would Colgate get in trouble if they did it? Right. So if we look at Colgate, what do? They throw value 3-pack on it. They throw the brand name on a brown box. By the way, it doesn't ship in that box. Right. If we go look at Dawn soap, they do it, and they throw yellow text and other things and 5x on top of the top of a product. That's not on the
Yeah.
packaging, right? Like at all, right? And then I'll give you one more example. HP printer, and HP shows a really interesting one. They don't do it on every single item, so it takes me a little bit to scroll sometimes to find one. But here's the best one right there: 6 months free ink. They put it on the printed page in pink. What does that make the
Yeah.
consumer do? Click on it, right? So if
Yeah.
if what we were describing was against terms and conditions, it's not. But let's say it was, then how are the big brands getting away with it? That's been up there for years.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, when it comes to advertising, what can you do in your advertising campaign to improve your CTR?
Put the keyword on the main image and then advertise that exact keyword. So
Okay.
makeup sponge, add the word makeup sponge over to the makeup sponge product, and then all of a sudden your keyword CTR will go up, and then you're going to have a lower ACOS, and then your PPC will improve your sales. Your ACOS, of course, is how much it costs you to acquire a customer. So
Yeah.
having the keyword on the main image, direct correlation to the PPC results. And as we established here, over half the keywords on the orange makeup sponge product had the word makeup or sponge in it. So it's not just a single keyword that we're talking about here. It's thousands of keywords by having a partial match or whatnot will
Yeah.
be influenced by this.
So now when it comes to pricing, we've talked about what you can do with images, what you can do in the title, some of those things that you can do. We've talked now a little bit about advertising, but does the pricing really matter in the CTR?
It does. So
Okay.
if all things are equal, the consumer's going to go for the lower cost item, just psychologically, and that's hyperinflation in the United States right now. God bless the government. Thanks for printing all the quantitative easing money. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. But now on Amazon, there's price sensitivity, right? So if we
Yeah.
go over to Amazon.com and give me another random product.
Okay, let's say, oh man, let's say a dog bowl, just a dog bowl.
Dog bowl. We got the dog theme going on. Hopefully, the video
Yep.
editor's throwing like a little dog bark transition or something.
Yeah.
All right. So in dog bowl, we have the $12 version and we've got all the way up to the $27 version. Now, if you have a tall dog like I do, I've got a Vizsla. I personally probably purchased an item like this, maybe even
Yeah.
that very item. And for me, price wasn't my deciding factor. I needed a bowl that was higher off the ground because my dog trainer told me to. But
Yeah. Okay.
but if but if you were the customer here and we're going through this, and here is an incredible example of a great main image that's going to influence CTR, right? Would you rather see a dog on the main image or no dog? I would rather look at the dog. I'm a dog
I
owner.
would too. Absolutely. A dog on the
They did
image does it for me.
I cannot emphasize enough how well done this image right here is. It is incredibly well done. And this is the one I purchased back in December. I even like Amazon remembers. You can see purchased December 23rd. I bought that one versus this one. Why? Because that one didn't have a dog on it, right? So,
Mm.
and I know we're getting distracted by the dogs here, which is kind of the point, though, right? But
Yeah.
like
Excellent.
price can influence, but what influences even more than price is the customer avatar, and that was the dog. So price right there going to have some sensitivity to that. But if we were to scroll through here,
But now,
you're
if you
buying
looked
with
up elevated dog bowl, if you
yeah,
had
well
looked,
even the
if you
playing
had
form.
searched for elevated dog bowl, now you might be more price sensitive because they're going to see more of what you really wanted, right?
I think you're right. So $22, $21, right? Not a lot
Yeah.
of big difference. We got like some wood high quality versions. But if we were to scroll through all of this, it's pretty clear the market has dictated we're looking at a $22 item unless we're getting a wood product.
Okay.
Uh, and so the consumer is going to look at that and say, why would I buy up power at $27? It's the exact same item as this
Mm.
$22 version up here, and that one has a dog on it. So
Yeah.
doggone it, I'm going to take the $22 one. This is why I
So
like
I know
that's why I
we're,
like you picking the products. So we get the dog sound bites.
yeah. Now, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, and I just want to know, do you have any final takeaways or advice for viewers who just really want to prioritize the CTR as their key strategy for growing their sales on Amazon?
Spend 10 hours on your main image. If you don't have 10 hours, hire an expert. I'm obviously biased. I'm my Amazon guy. I want you to hire me. But even if you don't, follow three basic things: show me the product, have a keyword on it, and give me some insights into the product. Show me the customer avatar or give me the ingredients. And you do those three things, your sales are going to go up. You're going to be so glad you listened to today's podcast. You're going to send me an email over at podcast@myamazonguy.com. You're going to send Debbie an email saying, thanks for having Steven on the show. Then she'll know to bring me back next year. So it's a win-win for everybody involved. Go do those 3 things. You'll improve your CTR. You'll improve your sales.
So I just wanted to say, Stephen has a really great channel on YouTube. My Amazon Guy. If you want to watch some of his other videos, if you found this really informative and stuff, I would highly recommend it. I do want to thank you today for joining us on Ecom Insiders, sponsored by SPCTEK. Stephen Pope from My
Thank you.
Amazon Guy. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment fields below. And if you enjoyed today's session, just subscribe to get some future editions of Ecom Insiders.